Good morning. I call this regular meeting of the Westchester County Board of Legislators to order. Today is Monday, August 6th. If we all could please rise. As Legislator Spreckman leads us in the pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Almighty God, give us the strength, courage, and wisdom to always act in this chamber in the best interest of the people of Westchester County. Let us keep in mind that every decision that we make impacts upon the life, health, and safety of all our great county residents. Amen. Madam Clerk.
Majority Leader Harcum. Minority Leader Mazzano. Ms. Borgia. Mr. Burrows. Here. Mr. Gelfarb. Here. Mr. Kaplowitz. Present. Ms. Marcotte. Here. Ms. Myers.
Here.
Ms. Perez.
Here.
Mr. Ryan.
Here.
Ms. Shimsky.
Here.
Mr. Smith.
Here.
Ms. Spreckman. Here. Mr. Testa.
Here.
Ms. Williams.
Here.
Mr. Williams.
Here.
Mr. Chairman.
Here.
Mr. Chairman, we have a quorum.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Ms. Shimsky, on the consent agenda.
Yes. We'll be following the consent agenda with the following modifications. On page 3, item number 3 will be severing. Page 7, item number 1, we'll be adding legislators Harcum, A. Williams, L. Williams, Ryan, Shimsky, Myers, and Perez. On item number 3, we'll be adding legislator Perez. On item number 6, we'll be adding legislators L. Williams, A. Williams, Myers, Borgia, Jenkins, Harcum, Perez, and Ryan. Item number 7, we'll be adding L. Williams, Myers, and Ryan. Item number 11, we'll be adding legislator A. Williams. Item number 14, we'll be adding legislator Gelfarb. Item number 16, we'll be adding legislator Shimsky. And item number 19, we'll be adding legislators Jenkins, L. Williams, Harcum, Shimsky, Myers, Borgia, Ryan, A. Williams, and Perez.
Thank you, Ms. Shimsky. Mr. Mazzano. Thank you, Mr. Mazzano. Mr. Williams.
I'm in agreement.
We are on consent agenda. Ms. Shimsky, your pleasure with item number 3.
At this time, Mr. Chairman, I move the approval of the minutes for the July 9th and July 30th meetings.
On the item number 3 that you severed.
Over it, please.
Thank you, Ms. Shimsky. While you're standing, though, for the minutes approval.
Yes. Move the approval of the July 9th and July 30th minutes.
Without objection, members, so ordered. Madam Clerk.
Under public comment, each speaker is limited to 3 minutes. Mr. Chairman, I have no cards.
Oh, okay. Let's go for the unfinished business since we're not at the time of the public hearing as of yet.
Please note the 3 items of unfinished business were held over from the July 9, 2012 regular board meeting and appear here for committee referral only. Item 5425 is an act authorizing Westchester County to purchase and convey approximately 2.06 acres of real property in the village of Ardsley for the purpose of providing 17 affordable ownership units that affirmatively further fair housing.
Madam Clerk, a short roll call vote.
Ms. Shimsky?
Aye.
Mr. Mazzano? Yes. Mr. Williams?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Approved 16-0 to be referred to the Committees on Budget and Appropriations and Government Operations. Item 5426 is an act authorizing Westchester County to enter into an intermunicipal agreement with the Village of Ardsley to fund certain infrastructure improvements in support of the development of AFFH housing to be located at 867 Sawmill River Road.
Members, without objection, will take the prior long roll call vote for the, a short roll call vote for the referral to the committee. So ordered.
Approved 16-0 to be referred to the Committees on Budget and Appropriations and Government Operations. Item 5427 is a bond act authorizing the issuance of bonds of the county in an amount not to exceed $1,670,000 to finance capital project BPL 50, acquisition of land and the construction of improvements located at 867 Sawmill River Road in the Village of Ardsley.
Members, without objection, we will have the prior short roll call vote for the referral to committee. So ordered.
Approved 16-0 to be referred to the Committees on Budget and Appropriations and Government Operations.
We are right at the time for the public hearing. So, Ms. Shimsky,
I move that the public hearing be closed.
nope. At this time, we'll have, you're going to suspend.
Oh. Okay.
It's okay.
At this time, I move to suspend the normal order of business to conduct our two public hearings.
Outstanding. Thank you, Ms. Shimsky. Madam Clerk.
Notice of today's public hearings were published in the Journal News. I have proof of publication, which is available for inspection in my office. Public hearing number 1 is from the Committee on Budget and Appropriations on an act adopting the Westchester Community College budget for 2012-2013 and making appropriations for the operation of Westchester Community College. Mr. Chairman, I have no cards.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Ms. Shimsky.
At this time, I move that the hearing be closed.
All right, on the motion, Ms. Shimsky, the public hearing is closed. Madam Clerk.
Public hearing number 2 is from the Committee on Budget Appropriation and Legislation on a local law amending Chapter 836 of the laws of Westchester by adding a new Section 83622 to specify requirements for federally funded purchases. Mr. Chairman, I have no cards.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Ms. Shimsky.
I move that the public hearing be closed.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Madam Clerk.
Takes us to standing committees. Item 4920 from the Committee on Appointments is the appointment of Reverend Adolphus C. Lacey as the Hudson River Region member of the Westchester County Housing Opportunity Commission for a term to expire at the pleasure of the county executive.
Ms. Shimsky.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Committee on Appointments interviewed Reverend Lacey. We found him very well qualified, very well versed in the subject matter, and very concerned and passionate about the subject matter. And for those reasons, I am happy to move his appointment here today.
Thank you, Ms. Shimsky. Members on this item. Madam Clerk, let's do a long roll call.
Ms. Shimsky.
Aye.
Mr. Mazzano. Ms. Borgia.
Yes.
Mr. Burrows. Mr. Gelfart. Mr. Kaplowitz. Ms. Marcotte. Ms. Myers.
Aye.
Ms. Perez.
Yes.
Mr. Ryan.
Yes.
Mr. Smith.
Yes.
Ms. Spreckman. Mr. Testa.
Yes.
Ms. Williams.
Yes.
Mr. Williams.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
Approved 16-0. Item 4956 from the Committee on Appointments is the reappointment of Dwight Douglas as a member of the Westchester County Planning Board for a term to expire December 31st, 2014.
Ms. Shimsky.
Mr. Douglas has been serving his committee ably and well, and for those reasons, I move his reappointment.
Thank you for that motion. Members on this item. Unless there's objection, members, we'll take the prior long roll call vote for the approval of the item. So ordered.
Approved 16-0. Item 4964 from the Committee on Appointments is the reappointment of Robert Moon as a member of the Westchester County Fire Advisory Board for a term to expire December 31st, 2012.
Ms. Shimsky.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Moon has also served his committee in an entirely satisfactory manner. For those reasons, we urge his reappointment.
Thank you, Ms. Shimsky. Members on this item. Unless there's objection, members will take the prior long roll call vote for the approval of the item. So ordered.
Approved 16-0. Item 5086 from the Committee on Appointments, the reappointment of James Herbster as the Area 3 resident representative member of the Westchester County Citizens Consumer Advisory Council for a term to expire December 31st, 2013.
Ms. Shimsky.
Mr. Herbster has also served his committee ably and well, and therefore we urge his reappointment.
Thank you, Ms. Shimsky. Members on this item? Unless there's objection, members will take the prior long roll call vote for the approval of the item. So ordered.
Approved 16-0. Item 5322 from the Committees on Budget and Appropriations and Legislation, a local law amending Chapter 836 of the laws of Westchester County by adding a new Section 83622 to specify requirements for federally funded purchases.
Ms. Myers.
Yes, this is a local law that pertains to the fact that the county, in receiving approximately $3 million each year from the federal government, then has an audit every 3 years by the federal government. And in this audit this year, it was found that there were a number of items that just needed to have revisions to correct the language based on changes that the federal government had made. So this is a this is a correction that amends some language, and we've been given an extension actually on doing this to cover the fact that we only had one meeting in July and one meeting in August, and that's why it's on the agenda today. So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Myers. Members on this item? Unless there's objection, members will take the prior long roll call vote for the approval of the item. So ordered.
Approved 16-0. Item 5320 from the Committees on Budget and Appropriations and Legislation, an act amending the policies and procedures that govern the county's procurement of goods and services not required by state law to be made pursuant to competitive bidding requirements in order to specify those applicable to federally funded procurements.
Ms. Myers.
Yes, again, this has to do with the language requirements, and this has been brought forward by both Budget and Appropriations and the Legislation Committees. So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Myers. Members on this item? Unless there's objection, members will take the prior long roll call vote for the approval of the item. So ordered.
Approved 16-0. Item 5321 from the Committees on Budget and Appropriations and Legislation, an act amending the rules and procedures that govern the pre-qualification and selection of architects and engineers as consultants to the county in order to specify those applicable to federally funded procurements of such services.
Ms. Myers.
Yes, this is the third such correction. So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Myers. Members on this item? Unless there's objection, members will take the prior long roll call vote for the approval of the item. So ordered.
Approved 16-0. Item 5192 from the Committees on Budget and Appropriations and Government Operations, an environmental resolution determining there will be no significant impact on the environment from capital project RGC 20 Golf Course Infrastructure Rehab.
Ms. Myers.
Yes, I would like to take the next 4 items together in terms of their description. These are projects that have been brought to the attention of Budget and Appropriations Committee as well as Government Operations, and have to do with a request to combine 2 projects for the savings, actually, of $100,000. And these projects are to redo sand traps at Dunwoody and Mohansick, the 3rd fairway at Sprain, and cart path move and repaving at Sprain, and together come to approximately $2.2 million. I would like to turn this over to the Government Operations Chair, please.
Thank you, Ms. Myers. Ms. Borgia.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As Ms. Myers has said, this is to do some improvements at both, at the Sprain Golf Course and Mohansick and Dunwoody. We were in the process of reviewing this in the Capital Projects Committee, Subcommittee, RGC 18, when we were told by the Parks Department that it made sense for them financially and operationally to do these two projects together. That would involve a minimal amount of closing time for the two golf courses, and also we saw extensive photo evidence that this work was needed. We want to make sure that we keep our golf courses, as they are a significant asset that we spent a lot of county resources in, up and operationally smooth, and also to mitigate safety hazards for the golf carts. At Sprain in particular, we saw some photographic evidence that because there weren't delineated cart paths, that there were some dangerous situations for people in golf carts, and then also that there was some erosion that was happening as a result of people sort of charting their own path. So for that reason, the the Government Operations Committee decided that we would support both of these together.
Thank you, Ms. Borgia. Mr. Kaplowitz, good morning.
Good morning, sir. I rise this beautiful summer morning, and I start by congratulating and thanking the chairs of the two respective committees, Chair Myers and Chair Borgia. By bringing these two together, there's a savings, a not insignificant savings of about $100,000, and the administration working with them to inure that savings to the bottom line for sure. When I guess to Legislator Ryan and Maizano, certainly Legislator Spreckman, and some of those are a little bit longer in the legislative tooth. When we first came here, the two things that we heard when we were told that when we say to somebody we work for the county, they would say, how about those golf courses and how about that playland? And we would then have a real fun discussion on those two items, and the paper would write about it, and people would call and complain. We still get a lot of discussion on the latter, but there's very little discussion on the former. And the reason is that the previous county executive and the current county executive, working with our experts and good people at the Parks Department, have really done a phenomenal job at our county golf courses. They have turned them into probably the perfect situation. That is, if the price is low enough to cover to the dollar the cost of running the facility, plus a small profit, but at the same time, the quality is quite good, and quality expert. Now, I can't certify to that. I'm a golfer, and I was actually out at Sprain on Friday, and I bring to all of my colleagues at least 11 stingers from a hornet's nest that's somewhere on the 11th hole, and there are still 2 white balls sitting in the woods, which I wasn't able to procure. But I survived, and I'm back, and I'm looking forward to voting for these 2 items before us. And I know that course pretty well. I didn't get to finish the 12th and beyond on that day, but I've been out there quite a bit. My concern with this item for many, many years has been that the 3rd hole is kind of a strange hole, and one that adds some character to the course. And if you haven't played it, it's impossible for me to describe it. But working with the good chairs of the committees and the administration, I stand here today saying I will support both these items because of the necessity, the safety component, the stormwater component, the runoff, and the like. But I would urge the administration and the Parks Department in working through, particularly the 3rd hole, not to spend what the previous plan had been to raise the hole and up to a level that would necessitate moving a tremendous amount of dirt at a tremendous expense. The cost had been as somewhere between the $250,000 and $500,000 estimated amount just to reconfigure the 3rd hole. This doesn't look like it is, and with the assurances and the work of the administration and the committees and the parks, I will support it, and that we can create the safety that we want, cart paths, so that given the angle, you're not going to have carts tipping over. But at the same time, taxpayers will know that once again the administration and with the oversight of the legislature is doing the right job. Really good quality product at the lowest possible cost on a break-even basis for taxpayers. That's a pretty good recipe and a pretty good model. And I'll go out and deal with the bees at a later time and figure out how to get my game back on track. But certainly I stand here in support of and look forward to seeing a reconfigured 3rd hole that does cost-effective and safer.
Thank you, Mr. Kaplowitz. Other members on this item? All right, members, the only thing I would want to point out again, as Mr. Kaplowitz was apt to point out, this particular bond first showed up on the Board of Legislators' agenda an appropriation of the capital bond in 2009. So we've been having this particular act in front of us, as Mr. Capelowitz pointed out, since 2009. It is the same amount of money as the total amount. They may have done additional reconfigurations inside of that amount of money, especially on that hole 3, which is infamous at this particular point in time for the number of golf carts that have turned over at that particular location. Unless there's objection, members, we'll take the prior long roll call vote for the approval of the item. So moved.
Approved 16-0. Number 5193, from the Committees on Budget Appropriations and Government Operations, a bond act authorizing the issuance of $1,010,000 in bonds of the county to finance capital project RGC 20 Golf Course Infrastructure Rehab.
Ms. Myers.
Yes, so moved. This is one half. Thank you.
As previously discussed, members, unless there's objection, we'll take the prior long roll call vote for the approval of the item. So moved. So ordered.
Approved 16-0. Item 5195, from the Committees on Budget Appropriations and Government Operations, an environmental resolution determining there will be no significant impact on the environment from capital project RGC 18 Golf Course Cart Path Rehab.
Ms. Myers.
Yes, so moved.
As previously discussed and moved by Ms. Myers, unless there's objection, members, we'll take the prior long roll call vote for the approval of the item. So ordered.
Approved 16-0. Item 5196, from the Committees on Budget Appropriations and Government Operations, a bond act authorizing the issuance of $1,200,000 in bonds of the county to finance capital project RGC 18 Golf Course Cart Path Rehab.
Ms. Myers.
Yes,
Ms. Myers.
this is the other half. So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Myers. Members on this item, only, again, this is the same point. From 2009 was the first time this board appropriated dollars for this particular project, and we're getting to it now. Unless there's objection, members, we'll take the prior long roll call vote for the approval of the item. So ordered.
Approved 16-0. Item 5454, from the Committees on Budget Appropriations and Government Operations, is a capital budget amendment to amend the county's 2012 capital budget by creating a county share for this project in the amount of $1,500,000.
Ms. Myers.
Yes, this is a capital budget amendment that will allow for the speedier rehabilitation of the pier at the Ashford Avenue Bridge, and will allow for netting and planking that will continue to keep pieces of this bridge from falling onto the traveling public below it. I would like to turn this over to Government Operations for the rest of this discussion. I would therefore move that the Budget and Appropriations has moved this out. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Myers. Ms. Borgia.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In the Government Operations Committee this past week, we did discuss the mechanics of this capital budget amendment quite extensively, including the timing associated with the various steps. Although this is a CBA that discusses not only the immediate rehabilitation that we all agree is necessary, the netting and planking referenced by the Chair of the Budget and Appropriations, but also talks about the peer rehabilitation and some other preliminary matters for the ultimate rehabilitation of this bridge. We did hear both from Chief of Staff George Oros and from Mr. Pisco from DPW that this is a very high priority for the Department of Public Works. Going through the scheduling and the mechanics of how the project is going to progress. We did hear that once it was passed, if this item is passed from the Board of Legislators today, that there was going to be an immediate advertising for bids for the most immediate part of the project, the netting and the planking. That is a somewhat complex project. It is going to take a certain amount of time. I would also note that at our last special meeting, we did have an emergency authorization for some of this work, and as a result of that, we understand that in A&C on Thursday, we were able to accelerate the process of actually going out for the bids for the work that is to be done for the netting and the planking. So I think I speak for everyone in government operations, everyone on this board, and basically all of the people involved, all the stakeholders involved in this, that we're all hoping to see this project move forward as expeditiously as possible, and we were assured by the administration that that was going to be the case. But government operations also passed this out, so we'd like to move that item.
Thank you, Ms. Borgia. Members on this item, Ms. Shimsky, in a shock.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to thank my respective chairpersons, Legislator Myers and Legislator Borgia, for moving on this item very quickly. I'd also like to thank the administration and particularly the professionals in the Department of Public Works who are moving this along as fast as they possibly can. I cannot underscore enough the public safety implications of this particular part of the Ashford Avenue Bridge project. The safety of anyone who rides on the New York State Thruway or the Sawmill River Parkway is implicated by the fact that we cannot ensure that we'll be able to keep the debris off of those parkways without netting and planking being installed. That netting and planking will also help further safeguard the public while the pier stabilization, which was found to be necessary after the June 22nd incident, takes place. I'm glad that we're going to be moving forward on this today. I'm also glad that the Democratic caucus supported the legislation of last Monday's special meeting to ensure that there would be emergency funding in place so that we were able to authorize the bidding last Thursday at the A&C meeting and move that much further, because certainly it's been 6 weeks since the initial incident with the falling debris happened, and we're living on borrowed time right now, and anything that speeds up the process by days, much less weeks or months, is most welcome. So again, I thank my colleagues for moving this forward today, and hopefully we'll begin to embark on our remediation very soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Shimsky. Other members? Mr. Williams? Okay. Other members? Don't look up if you don't want to be called. All right, thank you so much. I know that we also had in the committee meeting, and I appreciate all the folks that had the questions regarding understanding the estoppel period and that language that is included in our Bond Act, which basically says that there's a 20-day delay before any activity can take place on this particular Bond Act as we have right now. So while I know there were questions last week at the special meeting, and members certainly would right to be concerned about whether or not we needed to make an emergency appropriation to get the clock started. That emergency appropriation, as Legislator Shimsky just pointed out, was that allowed it to go to bid, the authority to bid to happen at last Thursday's A&C meeting. And we know after this legislation is signed, there's 20-day period, which is basically a frozen zone to allow members of the public to challenge the substantial compliance with the rules and of the state of New York and the laws of the state of New York as far as municipal finance is concerned. That's the estoppel period. So the question was whether or not that was necessary. Clearly it was. It clearly helped us out as far as expediting things, and we're all working together to make sure that we get this thing done. So we appreciate everyone's efforts in this. Unless there's other questions and there's any objections, we'll take the prior long roll call vote for the approval of the item, which, by the way, was submitted directly into the committee, having been delivered to the clerk as appropriate. Without objection, so ordered.
Approved 16-0. Item 5455 from the Committees on Budget Appropriations and Government Operations is a bond act in the amount of $1,500,000 to fund the cost of design, construction management, and construction in connection with the stabilization of the existing piers and surrounding structure of the Ashford Avenue Bridge located in the villages of Ardsley and Dobbs Ferry.
Ms. Myers?
Yes, so moved, the bond act for this pier rehabilitation on the bridge. Thank you.
As previously discussed, unless there's objection, members will take the prior long roll call vote for the approval of the item. So ordered.
Approved 16-0. Item 5280 from the Committees on Budget Appropriations and Public Safety and Security, an act authorizing the county to enter into an intermunicipal agreement with the City of Peekskill in order to provide reimbursement for prisoner transportation to the Westchester County Jail.
Ms. Myers?
Yes, I would like to move the following two acts that follow. These are intermunicipal agreements that pertain to the fact that the county is required at its own expense to transport prisoners between local municipalities and the county jail in Valhalla. And these are both intermunicipal agreements with the City of Peekskill as well as the City of Yonkers to transport prisoners in accordance with this requirement and to provide reimbursement to these two municipalities. So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Myers. Ms. Perez?
So moved.
All right. Thank you so much, members, on this item. You want a long roll call vote or without objection? Without objection, members will take the prior long roll call vote for the approval of the item. So ordered.
Approved 16-0. Item 5281 from the Committees on Budget Appropriations and Public Safety and Security, an act authorizing the county to enter into an intermunicipal agreement with the City of Yonkers in order to provide reimbursement for prisoner transportation to the Westchester County Jail.
Ms. Myers?
So moved.
As previously discussed, unless there's objection, members will take the prior long roll call vote for the approval of the item. So ordered.
Approved 16-0. Item 5342 from the Committee on Environment and Energy, a resolution to set a public hearing for applications for inclusion in the Westchester County Agricultural District Number 1, calendar year 2012.
Mr. Kaplowitz?
Yes, I'd like to set the public hearing up September 10, 2012 at 7:30 p.m.
Thank you, Mr. Kaplowitz. Unless there's objection, members will take the prior long roll call vote for the setting of the public hearing. So ordered.
Approved 16-0. Item 5410 from the Committee on Budget Appropriations, an act authorizing the county attorney to compromise the County of Westchester's right to be reimbursed for health care and wage benefits expended on behalf of the listed insureds' recoveries from legal actions or settlements.
Ms. Myers?
Yes, the Committee on Budget and Appropriations met to discuss with our county attorney this compromise of claims in which the county will be reimbursed due to a successful lawsuit in the amount of $50,000. So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Myers. Members on this item? Unless there's objection, members will take the prior long roll call vote for the approval of the item. So ordered.
Approved 16-0. Item 5420 from the Committee on Budget and Appropriations, an act requesting the authorization to settle the lawsuit of Frank Briglia, MD, Westchester County Health Benefits Plan, Westchester County Finance Department, POMCO, Inc., and Preferred Medical Claims Solutions.
Ms. Myers?
Yes, again, Budget and Appropriations met with the county attorney to discuss the settlement of a lawsuit that will pay $346,000 in unpaid claims over the past 5 years to Dr. Briglia. So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Myers. Members on this item? Unless there's objection, members will take the prior long roll call vote for the approval of the item. So ordered.
Approved 16-0. Item 5430 from the Committees on Budget and Appropriations and Government Operations, a resolution to set a public hearing on the proposed modification to the Ossining Sanitary Sewer District by the removal of one parcel of property located in the town of Ossining to Cliff Drive.
Ms. Myers?
Yes, I'd like to set this public hearing for September 10th at 7:30 p.m. So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Myers. Unless there's objection, members will take the prior long roll call vote for the setting of the public hearing. So ordered.
Approved 16-0. Item 5448 from the Committee on Budget and Appropriations, an act adopting the Westchester County Community College budget for the period 2012 to 2013 and making appropriations for the operation of the college.
Ms. Myers.
Yes, I would like to begin by saying that as one of the now longer-term legislators here, I sorely miss, and I think some of my colleagues will agree with me, sorely miss the brownies that used to be distributed at our public hearing on this. I think we all noted that there was no one at the public hearing to deliver brownies to us. However, we did have lengthy discussions in 2 Budget and Appropriations Committee meetings on the Westchester Community College budget. We met to hear the proposals from the community college and to accept an addition of money to cover increased salaried professors. And then we met once to hear the recommended deletions from our budget staff that actually brought down the amount by $44,500, which will include the addition of 2 professors for half of the year. So the committee did authorize to be moved to the full Board of Legislators a budget of $27.8 million that represents a county commitment of $799,000. Unfortunately, this does include a slight tuition increase. We were told that in order to remain flat, we would have had to provide $1.5 million more to the budget, and the committee, though, while discussing this, did feel that this was not the time to do that to the county, but it does remain, at least speaking as one legislator, it remains quite unfortunate that we have to give a tuition increase yet again this year. Hopefully, we will find ourselves next year at a point where we will no longer have to balance this budget by giving a tuition increase. Therefore, given the approval by the Budget and Appropriations Committee, I would move the adoption of this year's community college budget.
Thank you, Ms. Myers. Members on this item, Mr. Testa.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just rise in support of this and in support of the college in general. Kudos to the college for their hard work. I know firsthand how hard the board works, and Chairman Carey is here. I know President Henkin is here, and they work very, very hard at making the education, which is a high-level education, very affordable for our residents here in the county and very accessible to our residents here in the county. And being a member of that board for 14 years, I can attest to how hard they work at it. And I know this board has always supported the college, and in tough times, more people look to the college for re-education and training that is needed to move on and support their families. And I can tell you firsthand how great of an education you can get through Westchester Community College. And the accessibility, obviously, with the satellite campuses around the county. In Peekskill, there's one that's particularly successful that I support and visit from time to time. Has been a big part of our area and a big part of northern Westchester. So kudos to the board, and I support this wholeheartedly. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Testa. Dr. Hankin is here, just in case you wanted to know. He's sitting right behind you because that's why you couldn't see him. He's in that blind spot like in, I guess, at Fenway Park. Mr. Williams.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Chairman. I knew I would get a reaction from Mr. Maizano, and that's one way to really elicit a comment. But let me say that I want to also stand and commend President Hankin from the college and the staff of Westchester Community College for the great work and the commitment they have to education. And I do so understanding that in these particular economic times, it's very difficult because the cost of education throughout this country has increased astronomically. That makes it very difficult for students who are struggling to make it to gain access to a quality education at affordable cost. Westchester County Community College attempts to fill that gap and does it really well. However, I must say that While I support the budget, and I will vote on the budget today, I am concerned about the increase in tuition. And while it is a modest increase, it's $130 per student, it's 3% increase. Nevertheless, the students who attend Westchester College, Westchester Community College, are students who are struggling economically. They are trying as hard as possible to get an education, to go into the workforce, and to be able to continue to add to our economic revitalization and stimulate our economy. And I know that the County of Westchester, we have kept our sponsored contributions somewhat level over the years. The state contributions has declined and has caused, to some extent, the out of balance that has caused increases over a number of years in tuition. And I know for this particular budget year, the state has increased its contributions while we have kept ours level. And I understand the reasoning for that. Nevertheless, I think that we have to be mindful and have to be concerned because Westchester Community College is, I think, the second highest in the state, or close to that, in terms of tuition. So even though it delivers a very good product and it's really needed in this community, in this county, I really think we have to be very mindful of tuition increases because it comes to a point when your attendance will drop as the tuition becomes more expensive for students. Many of the students are coping with these increases through reducing their attendance from full-time to part-time. That's not a good thing because what it does, it keeps them longer time in college, longer time to get into the workforce. And so it's important, while we still have high unemployment, we want to make sure that people are retrained. We want to make sure that people are quickly be able to get from schooling to college. I also want to also commend Dr. Henkin and his staff and the management of the college on the satellite campuses, because I think the satellite campuses that they have around Westchester is unique. It's a unique structure for a community college, and I think it has paid great dividends over the years. I think this year alone, there was like $4.8 million in surplus generated in the satellite campuses around the county, which is a good thing. But to keep that, to make sure that they continue to be profitable, to be able to subsidize the overall campus, I think investments have to be made within those satellites, because that's the only way you're going to be able to get greater number of students, not only from Westchester, but coming from neighboring counties, which is good for us since the satellite campuses are generating a profit for the college. And again, I'm very supportive of the college. I want to continue to do that, but I want to make sure that on the record that I state my concern about the increases in tuition. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Other members? Mr. Mazzano.
As someone who attended Westchester Community College for 1 year, I always feel each year that I should stand up and put some things on the record about this terrific institution. Michael Kapowitz, Legislator Kapowitz, pointed out before that we have a terrific golf courses, and we do. We really do have a great golf course system. But one of the great gems of Westchester County is Westchester Community College. It's probably the best community college in the country. I mean, it's an incredible asset to this county. It's a fabulous school. Having attended there, I could tell you that I remember when I attended there being struck by how good the professors were. And having gone to other colleges and gone to law school, I'm not embellishing to say some of the best professors I ever had in my life were at Westchester Community College. Because that's the kind of school it is. It's a teaching school. The professors are incredibly committed to the school. Dr. Henkin, the staff, and the professors do a marvelous job of making sure that Westchester County has one of the very best community colleges in the country, if not the best. The satellites are also a terrific addition, as Legislator Williams pointed out. Last year, I went to teach one class just for 1 day on political science. And you all would have been very, very impressed and proud of the questions that came from the students. They were bright, they were engaged, they were thoughtful, and they were fun. It was a really nice day. We all know that the staff, the professors, the management, Dr. Henkin, do a terrific job. And I do think it's important to note on the record for the people watching at home that we legislators are incredibly proud of this institution. We're proud to vote on this budget today. And we always look forward to the future of Westchester Community College, because as other legislators pointed out here, this is the difference for some kids. This school is what allows some kids to get into the college world, to get a terrific education at a very good cost. And the result is, and Dr. Hank can give you the numbers, so many of these kids go on to really good, solid, excellent four-year colleges to finish up their degree. So there's so much great things you could say about Westchester Community College. As a legislator for 15 years now, I've voted for all the budgets, and they're one of the votes I take each year that I'm most proud of, because really one of the very finest parts of Westchester County is the college. And by voting on this budget today, allowing them to continue this terrific mission, we are doing an awful lot for the kids of Westchester County, and we're also allowing kids to get a terrific start to their careers at Westchester Community College, and they go off to four-year colleges and do wonderful in the workforce. So people ask you, why do we have a county government? Here's an example of why we have a county government, and here's an area where the county government and the college together are doing fantastic work. So, of course, I'll be voting yes.
Thank you, Ms. Mazzano. Ms. Perez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Sort of just to echo on what my colleagues have been saying, I've had not just the opportunity, but the pleasure of meeting Dr. Hankin and other members of the board, and I had a chance to go into the college and see some of the curricular activities and the variety of student services that they provide. It's incredible. In today's economy, I mean, you can't really put a price on a good quality education, but if you must, then Westchester Community College does it at an affordable rate, at an affordable price. And I plan in the very near future, I plan on becoming a part-time student and taking advantage of some of their language courses. So I'd like to speak in support of this budget. I think they're doing a phenomenal job. Just like Mr. Maizano said, as a legislator, I'm very proud of our college. As a Westchester resident, I'm very proud of our college, and I'm looking forward to attending it as well. So I'll speak in support of this.
Thank you, Ms. Perez. Other members? All right. One is that we want to continue to congratulate Dr. Hankin and President Carey, not President Carey, he's President of the Board of Trustees, because Joe, there's a spot there. You've been there for many, many years, 60 if I remember the last number that we heard, for a long period of time, 40, and continuing on in hard work. But as far as the question that Mr. Williams brought up as far as the amount of increases over the years, if you compare it to the other institutions that are around, we are still trying to maintain an affordable level, and the Foundation Board does an outstanding job of trying to, get additional dollars in, and it's one of those examples of that great public-private partnership that we try to replicate in many different places. So again, kudos to not only you, Dr. Hankin, your entire staff, the Board of Trustees, as well as the Foundation Board, all working together to make sure that that's all getting done. I do recall, though, last year, it was our first brownie list year last year, and I recall having a conversation, and we'll have to take this in consideration in next year's budget planning, because I thought that there was going to be a reprisal of the brownies, although it wasn't going to come from the same board member anymore, that maybe the students in the junior chef program were going to work out and try to understand that in the great city of Mount Vernon, where the junior chef program runs, and maybe we could time it a little bit differently so that the brownies could arrive just on the time of the budget vote. So we may have to extend junior chef camp a week to make sure that happens. We'll talk with Dr. Hankin later on. But on a really serious note, the board has continued to fund a commitment that was made a long time ago, under Chairman Ryan, that we had a commitment to the community college of funding, and actually before Mr. Ryan, a commitment to fund 2 positions every year to help fill in the gaps, and that has continued in this particular budget, and I know that we're all proud of that. But we also have a program to address a concern that we all had as well, which was the trying to find out why our young men were not staying in community college, and we continue to help fund that particular program to see what things we can do and understand the issues so that we can address them through our budget process. So I know we're all proud to vote on this budget. Madam Clerk, unless there's objection, members will take the prior long roll call vote for the approval of the item. So ordered.
Approved 16-0. Motions, resolutions, call of the districts.
Before we get started on the motions, resolutions, and the call of the districts, I know that there's two things. I'm going to ask Ms. Myers, and then I'm going to, and Ms. Myers, you can hold your other ones, but do this one first, and then we'll do Mr., one that I think that all the members will want to be involved in as well. Ms. Myers.
I rise just to add to the memorial resolutions the name of Alice Phelps from Rye. She is the mother-in-law of my assemblyman, George Latimer, as well as a prior county legislator in this seat. Thank you.
And I'm sure all members want to be on that, from a former colleague and chair of the board, as well as the current assemblyman, for that. In addition, some of you noticed under Majority Leader Harkin's memorial resolutions, the Honorable Kevin Caranta, and I'm sure all legislators would want to be involved on that one as well. Judge Caranta was known on both sides of the aisle as a great person. So all members? Yeah. Okay, thank you so much. Mr. Mazzano.
Yes, thank you. Matter of fact, that's on my list to ask the Republican legislators to Judge Caranta. Kevin was a really terrific guy. I don't know if you probably all know him. If you don't know Kevin, he was a bright, articulate, engaging man. He was clearly moving up the ladder. He was going to be a county court judge and a Supreme Court judge. He was a very gifted guy. Everyone liked him. He was a terrific judge, and what a sad passing. I mean, this is a great member of the Westchester community that passed away, and I will tell you that I plan to vote for him, even though he's on the other side of the aisle. He was that quality of a lawyer, of a judge, and a person. And I was planning to vote for him for a higher judgeship. Also, I'd like to point out, as many of you may know, we had quite a bad week 2 weeks ago in the city of New Rochelle. We had two people pass away that were close to me and friends of mine. And I just want to say quickly a couple words. As you may have known, a 31-year-old firefighter named Keith Morris, almost exactly 2 weeks ago, passed away in a boating accident. And what you may not know, you saw that was in the press, he was on the front page for several days. He lives directly across the street from me. So I see him every day, and he's gotten very close to my family. He's a really good guy. I know his parents as well for 20 years, this was a guy that was full of life and energy, was a firefighter, was a bartender. He knew half the people who lived in New Rochelle, just a wonderful guy. Everyone loved him. What an unbelievably sad passing of a 31-year-old firefighter in New Rochelle, and I will tell you, my community was devastated over that. There was actually 500 people lined up out the door of the wake to get into that firefighter's wake. That's how beloved Keith was, and what a terrible loss. And I would like to ask, if I may, all 17 legislators who join in for the family of Keith Morris.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Also, Sue Motisi. Now, many of you may know Sue. Sue works at the Board of Elections, and I think Ken can tell you that she's beloved there by both sides of the aisle at the Board of Elections. Everyone loves Sue Motisi, a wonderful woman who passed away incredibly suddenly. Sue was one of my very, very dear friends. She started in politics with me. She's been with me all these years, and we've grown into family friends. We go to dinner together, and I'm not going to get into all the facts, but basically, Sue was fine on Sunday afternoon and passed away early Monday morning. It was an infection that raced through her body in about 36 hours. It was a horrible loss to a very dear friend of mine. And I also want to ask all legislators to join that one, being that she worked at the Board of Elections and was someone that worked incredibly well in a bipartisan way at the Board of Elections. So I wanted to ask all my colleagues to join on Sue Motisi. But in back-to-back days, two people from New Rochelle, two great members of our community from big families in New Rochelle. Everyone knew the Motisi family and the Kelly family, which is Sue's maiden name. Everybody knew Keith Morris. As a matter of fact, Keith Morris, you may not know, is a cousin of Tim Idoni, the county clerk. So these are two big families in New Rochelle. It was devastating to our community, and thank you all for signing on these resolutions so that the families can see that it wasn't just me, it was all 17 county legislators that understand what losses that these were to the New Rochelle community. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mazzano, and absolutely all members of you on that. And we'll show Ms. Shimsky. Back to you, Ms. Belfort. Ms. Shimsky.
I'd like to be added to the resolution for Gloria Mitchell.
I believe I would be on that as well for Gloria. Mr. Gelfart.
Mr. Chairman, I would also like to add to today's resolutions the following individuals: Mark Lane, Thomas Murray Claydon, Stephen P. Lyons, Carol Brady, and Jack J. Allegretti. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Gelfart. Ms. Marcotte.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I, too, would like to add some names to the memorial resolutions. For my district, please add the names of Ines Barletta, Sergio Rogliano Sr., which I believe I can speak on behalf of Legislator Kapowitz from Chappaqua. He would like to join me on that as well. And Ida San Severino, and I do believe my colleague, Legislator Burrows, would join me on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Borgia.
Thank you. I would also like to add two names to our memorial resolutions today, Ward Morehouse and Eleanor Coleman. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Borgia. I'm sure the Yonkers legislators would not mind that we ask all of our colleagues to join with us on Antonio Rodriguez, the Yonkers firefighter. Okay, thank you, members. Other members? All right, outside of memorial resolutions, I know that we did see a couple of things during the agenda today. Just wanted to note them for the record, that we did send to committee that were unfinished items of business, the 867 Sawmill River Road properties. The administration is sending us different legislation on those to use a different fund other than BPL 50. We will see those shortly. That's why we didn't just sever them and leave them here, or just not refer them to committee, but we are expecting that. The administration has assured that to us several times over the past week, that we would be using a different fund other than BPL 50 for the majority of that purchase in Ardsley. So we'll be looking forward for that. The other item is an item that I'm going to talk about a second, but then I'm going to ask Mr. Ryan, Legislator Ryan, to follow up on, which is was the announcement of the prescription drug program, the PRO-ACT prescription drug program, where there was several years of work that was going on with the New York State Association of Counties, and Mr. Ryan was instrumental as the immediate past chairman of the New York State Association of Counties in trying to work with the administration on getting this particular item done. And it was, I guess the best way to put it was a missed opportunity, since it was presented to the administration, to this administration last year, to have an opportunity for the county to be involved in something. And we had both the NACO version of it, which I guess is Caremark, and the NISAC version that was in committee last year for review, to see which things that we would put out for the betterment of the people of Westchester County as a whole. Mr. Ryan, you may want to follow up on that.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I think that where I'd like to start, because I don't know how many members. I know Jim Mazzano has been part of the group over the years, going back some period of time, that has represented this board in the State Association. More recently, Mr. Alvarado was part of it, and Mary Jane Shimsky, Judy Myers. Many legislators have taken the opportunity to participate in the State Association of Counties activities, primarily the conferences, which are very important to thousands of elected and appointed county officials across New York. I'm talking about the one major conference is held usually in the early February up in Albany. time doesn't permit, but to go into a lengthy conversation, but the State Association provides very valuable services to the counties of New York, not only the 57 outside the city of New York, but as well as the New York City and its 5 boroughs. And we, as you know, would find it difficult to retain counsel as a lobbyist, to be in Albany day after day after day to track all the things that are going on. We certainly, as legislators, it's been suggested by the media, well, you don't need a lobbyist up there working effectively for you. You're legislators, you should be able to do it. We all know in this room, we can't possibly do our jobs here and be up in Albany at the same time, talking with the people that we would need to talk to about the county and how it's impacted by either state actions or state inaction. We're all well familiar with all of those conversations. But part of what NISAC does for us is it provides that representation. It provides many, many services to counties. One of the services that it provides is through PROACT, is the discount pharmaceutical assistance program to residents of the county that possibly are not insured or underinsured. And it's a very it's an excellent program, very good track record. And those of you who have been part of this board for many, many years know that PROACT has been available. And a couple of years ago, we started to talk to the PROACT people and through the National Association, Caremark as well, to try to get the program that would be most suitable, for Westchester and its residents. I want to make sure that everybody in the chamber understands that, and I wish I had seen a different mailing go out on this across the county, because I want to point out that the most important thing is the benefit that we're delivering to residents of Westchester County. But the reason why I bring it up, everybody in the chamber has realized that you're part of that. Right? The Board of Legislators should have been mentioned in that mailing, because we have been the core of the NISAC-Westchester County relationship, this legislature. We have been the active participants, and it doesn't end with just the conference. All the different things that we have to do as a member, we have done with our membership. Our membership has changed over years. No, Mr. Rogowski isn't with us any longer. He was a very active member of NISAC, and he helped solidify that relationship between the county and NISAC. But the legislators have to understand that the announcement that went out that talked about this pharmaceutical assistance program for county residents, that seems to suggest it's being offered by just one individual in this government, is a program that you are responsible for. Through your membership, you have been very supportive of the NISAC-PROACT relationship, and you've been very supportive and actually made it possible for PROACT to be in the picture to offer this to county residents. You did that. Your names and faces should have been on that mailing. Now, this program, incidentally, announced a few days ago, I guess. This was actually before the government, a year ago. As president of the New York State Association of Counties, I talked to Kevin Plunkett about the progress, or at least what seemed to be the lack of progress on the part of this government in getting that program outside this building and into the streets of Westchester County so that residents could benefit from it. And there was discussions with some outfit in California, which really was not as good as the PROACT program at all, and was not the program offered by our association. And over a year ago, we were in a position to provide that benefit to county residents. It has taken 1 year to put that out. So, okay, I'm just providing that as background. I found it was really bothersome to me that it took so long for Westchester County to make a decision that was so clear to other counties in New York State. But, okay, fortunately have done it. The cards are now out there. Hopefully, residents who can benefit financially from the use of the program will do so. But I wanted, in talking to you, Mr. Chairman, this morning, I wanted to make sure that the legislature and each individual member sitting here today, and Pete Harcum when he returns, that we keep in mind that we are the ones that are responsible for delivering that benefit. Through our active work in bringing about the PRO-ACT, NICE-ACT relationship and our involvement with our state association and our placing this as a possible program for county participation into this building over a year ago. All right? As I mentioned before, no matter who brings it up, all right, don't at all feel as though, you know, you're only kind of collaterally involved. You did this, and you're to be congratulated for it. And you're joining the ranks of many, many other counties in New York State that saw at a much earlier date the great opportunity here to deliver, especially in tough times economically, a benefit for people in their county who don't find it necessary to pick up the prescription medications that they need, but don't find it all that easy to pay the costs of those drugs. And this program helps those medications be much more affordable for them.
Thank you, Mr. Ryan. Ms. Shimsky.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In addition to the specific issue with the prescription drug program, there's a more general principle here that I would like to highlight. When a government mailing goes out, it should not look like a piece of campaign literature. And that mailing looked way too much like a piece of campaign literature for comfort. In the future, I hope that that will not happen again, and if it does, we're going to have to start making inquiries because we have on this floor, I understand, received constituent complaints about this. Thank you.
All right. At this time, we all could please rise and observe a moment of silence for those mentioned in the memorial resolutions. Ms. Shimsky.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we adjourn until Monday, September 10th at 7 p.m.
On the motion of Ms. Shimsky, the board stands adjourned.